Let's begin. Fall is officially here. The leaves are turning. It's been really nice to have kind of a real fall this year. And today is sort of the mark of what's coming. Very cold weather, I think, is on the horizon. Very windy out today. I don't know if that will show up on the video, but it's really gusting out there. A transition that we mark here at H&S from Kenya season into Ethiopia season. And we are starting off with an absolutely sensational Ethiopia this month. And if it's any indication of what's to come, it's really going to be an amazing, amazing Ethiopia season. So without further ado, let's dive in. Ooh. That's a way to start the morning. This is Ethiopia Banko Taratu. This is one of our favorite coffees from last year, from all of last year, Banko Taratu. It is a double fermented, washed process. An incredibly bright, clean, effervescent, juicy coffee. It's got everything. Oh my. The way I brewed it this morning is very strong. This is a very high TDS brew that I did this morning. Might not be the best coffee to be starting off with on my tasting because it is an exceptionally high TDS, and we'll cover that a little bit later. What I really love about Ethiopia coffees is that they're just so complex in terms of that word that we use in the industry, complexity. Ethiopia is pretty much the benchmark. Yemen might also be a top contender there. But in terms of just the different layers of flavor, where they hit on your palate and what they present to you, there's so much going on. And almost all Ethiopia coffees have a wonderful acidity, a great sweetness, a floral-like complexity to them, and they all really intermingle and play around together. And this is a really nice example of it this morning. Boy, that is juicy. For the notes on this bag, we've got sun tea, peach, and yuzu. Early on in the development of this coffee, the sun tea was really, really apparent. That was a little bit of a lighter profile that we were playing with. That sun tea note, it was like, I just couldn't escape it. As we've progressed into production and finalizing the profile on it, I think sun tea is a little bit less present. And sun tea, for those unaware, is basically when you take a bunch of tea bags, black tea bags, generic black tea, and you throw them into a big jar and you set them out on your porch in the sun to brew all day long, hence the name sun tea. It's a fairly generic black tea note that's on there, but today as I'm tasting it, especially with this brew method, the peach is unreal. It's super juicy, very syrupy as well. Peach juice. It's just so strong in this cup here. And finishing with the yuzu note, a little bit of a cross between a lemon and a grapefruit. It's a little bit bitter, not quite to a grapefruit standard. Great clarity, great brightness to it, lots and lots of acidity as well. So pretty nice notes, a good all-around Ethiopia type notes on this bag. Oh, it's just huge this morning. Ooh, we got to come back to this one. We'll go back through kind of like we did last month and jump around a little bit. Before we move on to our second bag, let's say this is the Roaster's Choice subscription bag number 1, and this is a doozy. This is about as good as it gets for Ethiopia, and landing in that first bag slot for Roaster's Choice subscribers this month, I think this is going to be a very pleasing coffee. All right, for bag number 2 and Roaster's Choice bag slot number 2. And on a much more tame brew this morning, we have El Placer. So this is a follow-up to our earlier El Placer release. That was a white honey geisha, and simply one of the most floral coffees that I've ever tasted in my life. And I've gotten so much feedback on that a lot of other folks agree too. It's really nice to hear. Following up with that, we have a very traditional, straight, clean, washed pink bourbon. This is produced by Sebastian Ramirez, and I had the absolute pleasure to meet Sebastian earlier this year at World of Coffee in Geneva. I happened upon the El Placer booth, and they had just wrapped up a cupping. The person running the booth, his name is Roger. He told me to come back later, and I said, well, since I'm here, I just want to share something with you. I reached into my backpack. I pulled out the El Placer White Honey Geisha. He takes a look at it and hands it over to the guy standing next to him. That was Sebastian Ramirez. And it was such a delight, such a surprise. I had no idea that I would be meeting a person whose coffee I literally just roasted for the first time ever. They took the bag and they brewed it right there at the booth. I was completely nervous. I was sweating bullets. This was the very first roast of that coffee. It was about right, maybe just a touch on the light side, but knowing our style for coffee and how we brew coffee and treat coffee here, we're quite a bit lighter than everyone else, and I was really nervous about how this coffee was going to turn out. But Roger, a pro, absolute pro, he brewed it exceptionally well, and we got to taste it all together, and that was really an incredible experience. A barista champion and a latte art champion, both from Europe, also happened upon the booth, and we all got to drink this coffee together, and it was really a nice experience. And so Sebastian's become a producer that I'm going to continue to go back to over and over and over again. Really, really, really nice person. It was a treat and a delight to have that. And I'm really excited to be able to follow up his white honey work, his kind of processing work, with something that is a lot more traditional, just a regular wash coffee, and to highlight just what a capable producer that he is, because this coffee is sensational. It's really clean, really juicy, great intensity to it as well. In terms of intensity, this coffee, the brew this morning is a 1:17 ratio. What I did over here with the Banko Taratu is a 1:10. So huge, huge, intense, juicy cup over here. But this intensity over here is, while it's obviously a little thinner, the intensity is still matching, I think, to this Banko over here. Just to highlight what an intense coffee this is. There's a huge amount of acidity in this cup. Very, very, very nice. Very clean. Great intensity. Again, I'm not sure how else to describe it. For the notes on this one, fruit punch, plum, orange blossom. I'm tasting all of that this morning. There's a nice balance there. Fruit punch, that can be a little bit of a trap word. I mean, it's sort of a catch-all for a lot of different things, but I think to a lot of folks, fruit punch can mean held in cherry or a little bit of funk in the cup. Nothing like that going on here. There's just so many different stone fruits and some berryness and a lot of citrus in this cup, and they're all in here together. And fruit punch just felt like a really good way to describe it. This morning, I'm definitely tasting cherry. I'm tasting a little pomegranate maybe. I'm tasting some peach. I'm tasting citrus. Quite a lot going on in this one. Plum, for the tartness, there's a great tartness to this coffee as well. And then on the finish, I have orange blossom. I think if you're pushing extraction, maybe doing espresso, you're going to find a little of that orange blossom to be more present in the cup. This morning, as I'm tasting it, it's on the finish a little bit. It's not quite as strong as, again, it was earlier in the development of the coffee, in the profile development. Just a hint on the finish, I think. Just a touch of that, almost florality. I wouldn't go anywhere to say that this is a floral coffee, but so orange blossom, kind of a nice note to represent a little hint at that in the finish. Just a huge, juicy, expressive cup. Really, really fun. Tasting excellent this morning. Big fan. Okay. For our last cup today, the last release. We welcome the return of Space Jam. So what is Space Jam? If you're fairly new to us, you've never seen this coffee before, but this is a blend that we've released multiple times over the years. And it only happens when we have Kenya still on hand when we enter into Ethiopia season. And traditionally, it is a blend of Kenya and Ethiopia natural coffees. But this year, we did not profile our natural Ethiopias yet. We instead went with the Banko Taratu, and so we mixed it up a little bit. Instead, we opted for two other beans, one being our Panama Deborah Echo, which I was really keen on trying a little more of a developed profile on. I kind of wanted to see what would happen to it. And finally, the El Paiso, thermal shock yeast inoculated pink Verbone from Diego Bermudez, most famously known as Milky Cake, put out by DAC. I'm pretty sure this is the same coffee, if not a very similar coffee, because it has very similar notes to what I've tasted from DAC's Milky Cake. So, two Kenyas, the Deborah Echo, and an still unreleased El Paiso coffee. So wild. Kind of a crazy amalgamation of flavors and tastes, but that's what we want from our Space Jam. We want something that's really galactic, mind-bending, something that is challenging, very highly complex, big and juicy and bold and interesting, and I think that's what we've got going on here for sure. I'm getting that nice Kenya tartness up front. Specifically, it's the Kiamwangi and the Gatamboya Kenyas that are in here, and I'm definitely getting that presence at the start. There's a little bit of that cakey sort of milkshake or frosting, birthday cake frosting kind of thing that's happening a little bit in the middle with the sweetness on this. And a bit of the cascara, I think, as well, especially into the finish on this. It's kind of all there. You have to sort of hunt for it. And being a blend, it can be a little bit just confusing. It's not as clear as with single origins when you can pick out those notes or they come to you in sort of a set order, I feel like, to me anyways. With the blend, it jumps around all over the place. It can be that Kenya tartness can be at the beginning, it can be at the end. The milkiness, the cakiness to this one can show up anywhere in the sip as well. And I think it also changes quite dynamically based on the temperature. So where you're at in your cup, it's gonna pop different things out at you. Just really a fun coffee, a great way that we sort of celebrate the end of Kenya season and beginning of, like I said, Ethiopia season, although we didn't end up putting Ethiopia in here. This particular blend, it sold out the day we released it. We will probably take a look at it again if we still have any Kenya left when we start profiling our Ethiopian natural. We'll come back and take a look at it again, see if maybe we can re-release it. I've certainly gotten a lot of messages from folks who didn't get to try it and want to. So we will definitely be looking at that. Okay, I'm gonna go back through. Let's do some comparing. I don't know, this probably won't read, but there's a definite difference in the brew here. You can tell these cups on the right are quite a bit cleaner. This is very opaque. Oh, wow. Little pineapple right there on that sip. I love this coffee so much. The brew method has transformed it wildly. And again, we'll cover that in just a second, but little, pineapple jumping out. The yuzu, quite a bit stronger on that sip as well. And then lots and lots and lots of peach juice. Just the sweetest, juiciest peach. Fruit punch, plum, really present. A little bit of an apple on this coffee. I think mostly in terms of the mouthfeel. If you could imagine like a plum tartness with a little bit of an apple-like mouthfeel. Getting that in this cup, that's been pretty regular on the El Placer. Interesting cup. The El Paiso, the milky cake, strawberry milkshake, birthday cake frosting kind of vibe that I wanted to put in here. It's not as strong this morning. I'm getting certainly a lot more of the Kenya tartness and some of that cascara from the Echo. The milkiness is there, sort of like an Earl Grey with milk, maybe a tea-like character with milk involved. It's not super big or strong. Maybe in espresso or stronger extractions, I think that could start to show up a little bit more, but the balance of it within the cup is pretty nice. I kind of wanted a little bit more. I wanted a little weirder notes coming out, but as it is, it's pretty fun and a little bit complicated. Gives you a lot of things to look for. Love this coffee. One of the favorites from last year. I think this is going to be a favorite from this year. It's sensational. Ethiopia is one of the best, and this is one of the best examples of it. We've got six more Ethiopias coming this year. So if they can all represent themselves like this one is, it's going to be a spectacular season. Can't wait. Let's talk about brew methods, rest, and the like. So the Banko Taratu, it's good every which way. I've enjoyed it on every method that I've tried it on so far. And this morning I opted for the OXO Rapid Brewer, aka the Orb. And I've been playing around with a recipe for this brewer. It is a 1-to-10 ratio. So it's not emulating soup and it's not emulating pour over. It's kind of this weird in between. But I've been getting some really great cups out of it, and obviously some very, very, very high intensity cups. It's melting my face this morning with the intensity. It's so big, so juicy. But on Gabi Standard, Gabi Gentle, more regular pour over types, this coffee sings. I assume that the tea-like notes of it are going to be a little bit more present in those types of brews. On espresso and stronger extractions, I would say the peach is so big, and the yuzu coming out as well. Really, really nice. It's so big this morning. In terms of rest, it's an ultralight coffee, 30 days, I think, but I'm feeling like it's opening up a little bit faster for me compared to where I'm usually at with some of these coffees at this stage when I'm doing the tasting videos. So maybe 20 days, this coffee could start to show itself really nicely, but pretty standard ultralight fare on that one. For the El Placer, also an ultralight coffee, and I'm thinking this is might need a little more rest than the Banko, as it's showing a little bit of a youngness this morning. This could be related to the brew method I picked, comparing to just what's going on over here. This is a bit of an unfair comparison because it's so wildly different of a brew method, and it's a little fresh. This morning I brewed it with the Gabi Gentle recipe. I wanted to emphasize the sweetness and brightness in this coffee. So that's the route I took. Higher extraction yields probably are going to bring out a little more of the florality that's present in this coffee. There's just a tiny little bit in there. But I like, for wash pinker bones, the Gabi Gentle and stronger extractions to emphasize the sweetness. And it's really nice in this one, but I'd say overall intensity is the name of the game with this coffee. Just a huge, huge intense cup. So 30 days is probably about the right marker, as is the usual for ultralight coffees from H&S. And finally, for Space Jam, we also have this listed as an ultralight. It's a touch more developed than their individual counterparts. Touch more development than the Kenyans, definitely quite a bit more development than the Deborah Echo, and it remains to be seen with the El Paiso because we have not started on that coffee yet. But even though it's a touch more developed, it's still not quite a light roast. I do think probably 20 days on this one. In terms of what I'm tasting, sort of in the youngness of the coffee between the Space Jam and the Banko, they kind of feel like they're in about the same place. So the amount of rest between these two could be roughly the same, with the El Placer needing just a little bit more rest on it. Very juicy, pretty tart this morning. Just a hint of that cakiness, the milkiness in there, just to add a little bit of fun. That cascara is nice on the finish as well. So I think that's about it. Great month, as always, here at H&S. It's always such a delight to introduce new coffees. It's my favorite part of what I do here at H&S. So yeah, enjoy yourselves, enjoy your coffees this month, and until next time, happy sipping. Ooh, woo!